Hey, welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you clicked on this video because I am going to share this news article / interview with Katie Proudfoot, the mother of Sebastian Rogers, who was reported missing 1 year ago on February 26th, 2024. He was last seen 1 year ago, February 25th, 2024, allegedly by his mother when she told him to go to bed that Sunday night. Sebastian was 15 when he was reported missing from his Hendersonville home in Sumner County, Tennessee. The title of this article is, quote, "We're never going to stop searching. Mother of Sebastian Rogers, 1 year without son." Now, there is a video. It's a little over 6 minutes long. If you would like for me to make a video or even go live and review that 6 minute and 23-second, I think, clip, let me know. Leave me a comment below and let me know. So the article says, today marks 1 year since anyone has seen Sebastian Rogers, a 15-year-old boy with a magical smile from Sumner County. This is going to be hard for me to read this and not respond, not share my opinions, just like the title of Katie being quoted, "We're never going to stop searching." This is the first time that we have heard from Katie Proudfoot publicly since May of 2024. It is now February, almost the end of February 2025. It's almost a year, and we haven't heard from her in almost 9 months of this 12 months. So you're never going to stop searching? And what made me say that was because the article says, Sebastian Rogers, a 15-year-old boy with a magical smile from Sumner County. Now, I absolutely agree with that. But if you go back and listen to the interviews that Katie did with her husband, Christopher Proudfoot, they talk about Sebastian's goofy smile, not magical smile. Sebastian disappeared from his home in the Shackle Island area on the night of February 25th, 2024. The now 16-year-old boy likely left his home with no shoes, wearing dark clothing, and possibly taking a flashlight, according to his mother, Katie Proudfoot. Now let's review this. See, this is going to be longer than I thought. I apologize. So the now 16-year-old boy likely left his home with no shoes. That's correct, because he was sent to bed. It was bedtime, allegedly, when he was last seen, right? Wearing dark clothing. That's according to his mother and his stepfather, Katie's husband, Chris Proudfoot. When Chris called the sheriff's office, not 911, he told them that Sebastian had on a black sweatshirt and black sweatpants. That was later corrected by the two of them, saying that Sebastian was wearing a long sleeve t-shirt with an image on the front and black track pants with a white line or white stripe down either leg. And the flashlight, Seth Rogers, Sebastian's biological father, who has been on every public platform that he can possibly be on over the last 12 months, searching for his son, out searching on foot for his son, out searching on water for his son. He said that the flashlight that they're talking about is a keychain flashlight that was a freebie given at one of the trade shows that he didn't even think worked anymore. And Katie said that when law enforcement is the one who asked her, hey, do you think he might have left with a flashlight since, you're saying that he left after dark?
One of the first things that was asked is because he left when it was very dark outside, was if he might have taken a flashlight. And he actually has one that he plays with regularly, and I can't find it. So it's likely that he took it.
Okay. That's why it says possibly taking a flashlight, but it should say a keychain flashlight that might not even work. Let's continue. 12 months later, there are still no confirmed sightings or leads in finding him. That's per law enforcement. No confirmed sightings. I know that has been much debate, and I'm so glad the FBI recently changed the last seen date to the 25th of February, because it did say the 26th of February, which is the day that he was reported, not the date that he was last seen. As of today, TBI has not changed their information, but neither one of the TBI, FBI, or the National Center for Exploited and Missing Children, nobody has changed what Sebastian was allegedly wearing that I'm aware of. Quote, "Cats are number one," said Proudfoot in an interview with Fox 17 News. He loves animals, all animals, but yet all they had was dogs because they got rid of all the other animals that he had, the cats, the snakes, the bearded dragon. Sebastian loves his gecko, named Gecko, I think is how you say it, video games, books, and any chance in the pool. Quote, he loves water. He swims like a fish, she said. In December, Sebastian was not home to celebrate his 16th birthday. Katie said, I prayed for him to be found. I prayed for him to come home. She said of how she spent the day without her son. Now, she also said more in the news interview video clip where she started to speak and then self-edited herself, her own words. So if you're interested in seeing more of that, please let me know and I'll share it. Maybe I'll go live and review it. You just let me know what you prefer. After dinner, Proudfoot said she and her son went home. The Sunday evening he vanished. Quote, it was a normal night. That was the last time I saw my son, when he went to bed. Things turned tumultuous by the next morning. Quote, I went to his room and he wasn't there, wasn't in his bed, said Proudfoot through the tears. Proudfoot said she frantically searched the house and drove around the neighborhood at 6:30 a.m. until she and Sebastian's stepfather, Chris Proudfoot, who said he was away for work, called the police. So let me break this down just a little bit. Now, Katie said that she woke up at 6 a.m. She went straight to Sebastian's room. He wasn't there, so she called Chris after she searched the house for 3 minutes. So around 6:03, Chris Proudfoot gets a phone call, allegedly, from his wife, Katie, and she says, I can't find him. He's not here. And Chris says, well, did you look here? Did you look there? And she said, yes, she could not find him. Now, according to Chris, he hung up with her immediately and called law enforcement because that's just what you're supposed to do. But law enforcement said the 911, or not 911, there was no 911 call. Law enforcement said the call initiated at 6:33 a.m. So there's 30 minutes in there of what? And she drove around the neighborhood at 6:30 a.m. Now, we do know that Seth Rogers received a text and a phone call at 6:22 a.m. from Chris, and the text told him to call him 911. Now, he could type 911, but not when he was dialing a phone number to call. Seth didn't get that message until after he was off work because he was at work at the Davidson County Jail, which the phone call would have been recorded if Chris would have called, or Katie, the mother of Seth's child, would have called Seth at work to let him know this 911 emergency. But they didn't call. Chris texted him and tried to call his cell phone. So Seth did not see that until after he was off work on Monday, February 26th, a little after 7 a.m. An Amber Alert and TBI, an Endangered Child Alert, along with an extensive week-long search by multiple law enforcement agencies ensued, but the efforts didn't yield one significant lead or even a glimpse of the boy on any surveillance or doorbell camera video. Quote, unfortunately, over the last year, I have thought every single day, night, every possibility of something that could have happened to him, where he could have gone, if he had gone with someone, if someone took him willingly, unwillingly, if he ran away and got lost, a million different things, and unfortunately, I don't know. Days later, investigators combed through a landfill 2 hours away in Kentucky, still saying they had found nothing. Law enforcement is not going to get a probable cause affidavit signed by a judge on a hunch, on let's just be sure. You can't just put that on a probable cause affidavit. If they did, I would be completely shocked. There had to have been some type of evidence that they had to be able to put it on the probable cause affidavit for the judge to sign off for them to go search this landfill, in my opinion. Sumner County Sheriff Eric Craddock had maintained that there is no evidence to support foul play in the investigation. However, detectives continue to not rule anything out. Now, we do know that Detective Brandon Carter did say in an email that I shared on my community post that this is a criminal investigation. Fox 17 News sent Craddock a list of questions on the current status of the case, including asking if there are any new leads, what kind of evidence detectives have vetted, and if investigators still believe there is no indication of foul play. Craddock responded in an email saying, quote, this is an active and ongoing investigation. We continue to work with our state and federal partners. We will continue to seek a resolution in the case, end quote. That seems very bland in my opinion. Quote, the Amber Alert remains active for Sebastian Rogers, stated a Facebook post from the Sumner County Sheriff's Office on the year mark after Sebastian went missing. Quote, law enforcement officers continue to consider and investigate any and all options to determine what may have happened to Sebastian and where he may be. The high-profile case continues to attract massive attention online. Well, that's an understatement, right? In the Middle Tennessee community. Comments in social media groups have often become divisive, and accusatory towards all parents involved, particularly Katie Proudfoot. Now, my assumption would be because Katie Proudfoot was the last person to say that she saw her son, period. Proudfoot said detectives thoroughly searched her home multiple times with dogs. She also said she passed a lie detector test administered by law enforcement. And in the interview, when the news reporter asked if she had taken a poly, she said, now you have taken a lie detector test, correct? And she said, yes, and my husband. End of, period. That's it. She never said, and Sebastian's father, Seth, also took one, which we know he took one. Chris Proudfoot has already told us that they all three took one with law enforcement.
We weren't even together when she took her polygraph.
See,
and I wasn't together with either one of them when I took my polygraph, and nor was Seth. Seth was completely away from everyone when he did his polygraph.
But we also know that Seth took one with an ex-FBI agent who specializes in polys. Nancy Grace is the one who retained him to do Seth's polygraph, and he passed. So that we do know.
Did Seth Rogers pass his polygraph?
Yes, he did.
1 out of 3 parents passed their polygraph. But why, when Katie was asked about her taking a poly, why was her response, and my husband? That struck me a little bit. Like I said, if you want me to review the news report video, let me know, because I would love to do that. I would love to do it live with you guys. The Proudfoots filed for a restraining order against one true crime YouTuber following Sebastian's case, which had been upheld by a judge, which was ridiculous in my opinion. The case continues to make its way through court in Sumner County. That's outrageous. It's baffling to me that they could go to court, they can file for this restraining order, they can show up to every court hearing, but they can never get on the news. 8 months, almost 9 months of no news interviews. Nothing. No YouTube panel, no Facebook post. Meantime, detectives have remained tight-lipped in offering any details on the case, which is good. We don't want them to release too much. It would be nice if they would be able to come out and say, hey, this parent is not being looked at. This parent is not in our focus. Something along those lines. They don't even need to say, hey, we've vetted and cleared all 3 parents, like Mr. Chris has tried to allege, which is not true. None of the parents have been vetted and cleared by law enforcement publicly, because they don't do that. Law enforcement doesn't do that. There are very, very, very few cases where law enforcement has said, hey, we're not looking at the parents anymore. Monkey Michael Vaughn is a prime example of that. They have named 4 suspects in Fruitland, Idaho in Monkey's case. Law enforcement said, they're not our focus. The parents are not our focus. The 4 suspects are our focus. So if we could get anything like that in Sebastian's case, that would be amazing. But if one of the parents is being looked at as suspect, 1 or 2, they're not going to clear 1 or 2 or all of them if they're looking at specifically any of them. So it makes sense. A private investigator retained by Proudfoot. That caught my ear. They said that verbally in the report also. A private investigator retained by Proudfoot. Now this is referring to SF Investigates. And SF told us when he was on Lore Lodge with Aiden that he was paid by someone who's anonymous. He won't say who, but he signed the paperwork with Katie and Chris on behalf of Sebastian. That's how he worded it. But that's not how a lot of us have seen it, in my opinion. So SF put out this piece of surveillance video taken in the neighborhood the night Sebastian went missing, and he believes that it could be a lead in the case. He's quoted saying, at 12:17 a.m., there's a figure, said Steve Fisher, who works missing person cases around the country. Whew, that's okay. Fisher said he's logged more than 100 hours. 100 hours! What is that? 5 days? Just under 5 days? Of surveillance video from the neighborhood. 5 days from one camera. Under 5 days from one camera would be more than 100 hours. Just FYI. So 100 hours sounds like a whole lot, but 24 hours in a day. 5 times 24. So one camera. And we know that he has shown a few different camera views, images from those camera views. So he recently pinpointed a figure walking 1 block over from the Proudfoot's home in the time frame Sebastian disappeared. Now, this is allegedly in the time frame that Sebastian disappeared, because it was at 12:17 a.m. We have no idea what time Sebastian vanished. We have no idea. We haven't left the Proudfoot house yet, because there's no sign that shows that Sebastian left the house. He's not seen on any of the security footage, period, clearly enough to say, hey, that's Sebastian walking out of his house. So we haven't even left the house, in my opinion, in looking at and evaluating Sebastian's case. Not from a professional point of view, obviously, because we aren't professionals, most of us. But that's okay. We're allowed to have our opinions too. Quote, it's definitely a person. It looks like a thin person wearing dark clothing. Walks down south on Kellen Lane behind a vehicle, said Fisher in the video. And I want you to keep in mind also, when you're using security footage at night, most of the time, the security footage has IR lighting, infrared lighting, where it's night vision. And when you wear black clothing and infrared lighting is being used on the camera, it turns the black clothing to a very light gray color. Now, I do have cameras on my house, and I'm going to take a screenshot of myself wearing a black sweatshirt. I may do that tonight. I have a black sweatshirt on right now. So I may do that tonight and share that in this video so that you can see the infrared lighting, the night vision, turns any black fabric. Normally, there are a few different types of fabric where I've tried it myself in the past in previous cases, where I have walked out there and looked at myself and my black clothing stayed black, or my black leather sandals stayed black leather sandals. You know, like you could tell that they were still black. My sweatshirts, my sweatpants, my track pants, my yoga pants, my leggings, any of those black fabrics have always changed to a light gray color. The street is also directly across from an active construction site. Quote, that's another fear that I have. Could Sebastian have been hiding since his scent was possibly tracked over there? I would like to see ground-penetrating radar used just in case. Now, I giggle because at the end of Lore Lodge, when SF was saying ground-penetrating radar, he got a little stumbled on it a couple different times, and I clipped it. But he said ground-penetrating radar. Twice.
I do think there's got to be. In fact, I kind of made a call for, in case, there's people that had access to ground penetrating radar. That, like I brought up earlier, those dump trucks dumping all that dirt, it worries me. Those houses are going up so fast. Yeah. I'd like to see, and I don't know anything about ground penetrating radar. I don't know how to
ground penetrating radar.
How to read the returns. So, but if
Sheriff Craddock sent Fox 17 News a statement, quote, law enforcement has had possession of the original video since 72 hours after Sebastian was reported missing. After thoroughly investigating this lead, we determined that it has no relevance to the case. However, detectives did not confirm whether they identified the person in the video, as they had in 2 other surveillance images brought to public attention in the case. Fisher and Proudfoot are still hoping to identify the person seen in the video if possible. Unfortunately, any possible break in Sebastian's case has gone nowhere. Quote, one long nightmare, said Seth Rogers, Sebastian's father, who has also endured a year without his son. Rogers is working with his own private investigator. He's also coordinated a group volunteer searches, as well as teaming up with Dwayne Chapman, known as Dog the Bounty Hunter, to offer a reward of $347,000 for any information leading to Sebastian. The FBI put forward a $50,000 reward 6 months after Sebastian's disappearance. Quote, to stop looking is to give up hope, Seth said in a previous interview with Fox 17. I will not fail my son. Now, that's very interesting. To stop looking is to give up hope. And Chris and Katie haven't been on the news, on any news channel, any news station, national or not, national, local, PBS, whatever, nothing in almost 9 months. Hope is still evident among volunteer searchers, missing signs showing Sebastian and ribbons in his favorite color, green, which can still be seen around Sumner County, not in the Proudfoot neighborhood though. Proudfoot now has now has a green heart tattooed on her inner wrist. that was shown in the video. Quote, I would just like to tell my son that I love him, his family loves him, and that we miss him. We want him home, and we are never going to stop searching, she said. A prayer vigil for Sebastian will be held Saturday, March 1st at 2 p.m. at the Celebration of Life Church, 768 Forest Retreat Road in Hendersonville. All are welcome. Anyone who believes that they may have seen Sebastian Rogers should immediately call 1-800-TBI-FIND or the Sumner County Sheriff's Office at 615-451-3838. You can also send tips to TBI at tbi.tn.gov. So that's it. I did pretty good. I'm actually pretty proud of myself that we made it through in under 30 minutes. So what do you think? What do you think about this article? Did you learn anything new? How do you feel about the quotes that you did hear from Katie Proudfoot? What's your outlook on this? What do you think is going on? What do you think law enforcement is working on? Because according to Chris and Katie, law enforcement has nothing, nada, 0 leads, period, in Sebastian's case. A year and 0 leads. Now, like I said, Brandon Carter, the detective that's working this case and only this case, said this is a criminal investigation. A criminal investigation, which means there was a crime. Running away isn't a crime. So that's all I have for you for now. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you subscribing to my channel, smooching the thumbs up, ring-a-ding the bell, because you never know when I'm going to go live or when I'm going to upload a video. I will be live this Friday, so I'm not 100% sure on what time, so make sure that you ring the bell so that you'll be notified at least 30 minutes before I do go live. And it's going to be a great stream. Please make sure that you're there. I want to say also, there's a lot of drama in Sebastian's case, a lot on YouTube. I want you to think about the people that you watch on YouTube. Do they remind you of the bullies that you warn your children about? Or would you be happy if your children were being targeted by other children in a similar fashion? Would you want them to be around your children? Are they spreading positivity? Are they being logical and realistic, looking into a true crime case? Now, in my opinion, I don't want to spend my time that is so precious that we never get back, that we never know when it's going to be our last breath. I don't want to spend that precious time focusing on negative energy, making people feel bad, attacking people or calling them out of their name. I don't want to do that. I want to help. I want to help people as much as I possibly can. That's one reason why I like to share missing people's information, spread awareness about the person who is missing, and review their case. We all enjoy a mystery here and there, right? But this is real life. This is really happening. This is something that most likely a child lived through. And to do them justice, I feel like we should discuss every possibility of what could have happened. And in the end, hopefully, the majority of what we discuss and speculate about is going to be wrong. And hopefully that missing child or missing person is alive somewhere. Hopefully they'll be found alive and well and safe and happy and warm and fed. That's always the outcome that we hope for, that we pray for. Unfortunately, that's not normally the case. So we have to be realistic and we have to be logical, and we're allowed to discuss public cases. Just do it with respect. Don't state information as factual information unless you have something to prove and back it up. If it's your opinion, please do not state it as fact, and please do not harass or bully anybody in a case, covering a case, talking about a case, sharing a case. Please do not harass and bully anyone, period. If somebody is doing something you don't like, don't watch. Go support the people that you do enjoy, and hopefully you're spreading positivity that way. That's it. I'm going to stop now, or else I'm going to keep babbling. Thank you so much for watching. May you have the kind of day that karma feels you've earned. And until next time, I love you bunches. Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers is a 15-year-old autistic Caucasian male who was reported missing February 26, 2024 from the Stafford Court area of Hendersonville, Sumner County in Tennessee. Sebastian is 5 feet 5 inches tall, weighed approximately 113 pounds at his last checkup, has sandy brown short hair, brown eyes, and may be wearing glasses. Sebastian was allegedly last seen on February 25th, 2024, around 9 p.m. when allegedly his mom told him to go to bed. He was allegedly wearing a long sleeve black shirt with a picture on the front, black track pants with a white stripe down both sides, and he was barefoot. If you have any credible information about the whereabouts or the case regarding Sebastian Rogers, please call 1-800-TBI-FIND or 615-451-3838. Where is Sebastian Rogers? Please help bring him home.